we can even start with the book AVRT, the Addicted Rational Recovery.
Yeah, Rational Recovery. So if I take myself back, it was around 2021. So after the COVID era, I hadn't used for around 18 months, and
put that a bit closer to your mouth, mate.
I hadn't used for around 18 months, and
if you want to move your chair a bit, you can. It's all right.
And it was just, I thought I'd never use ever again. I was still drinking alcohol because I never thought alcohol was an issue. Well, my addiction would tell me it wasn't an issue, and I was just, so I hadn't used for around 18 months. Because my last therapist I'd had, his name was Dilwyn, absolutely fantastic. He was from Cais, but I'd been back to Cais 10 times over about a 20-year period. They would sort of put me together, or sort of give me 12 weeks of therapy, and I'd be off on my way. Bang.
What therapy was it?
CBT. And counselling, and each time I would probably go back and like, oh, that last therapist didn't work. Yeah, we'll give you this therapist, and then we'll give you this therapist, and this Dilwyn's just gave me loads of tools. But I stopped using these tools. There was a 1-minute check-in each day. There was all these things anyway, because I suddenly went and it was just like, I haven't got an addiction anymore. I'd always leave counselling and think, I haven't got an addiction anymore, I'm fixed. And the amount of times I'd relapse. And ultimately, I relapsed after about 18 months. We'd moved house, so Mrs., 3 kids, been together 20-odd years. And we had a good life, that's what we say. But when the cocaine came along, it would ruin everything.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just, we'd back out of debt, moved house, new mortgage, all of this flying, and I relapsed. I was sat in my garage. Now I look back and we talk about the addictive voice, which we'll probably get into. My addiction was putting a relapse in place that I wasn't aware of. So over this 18 months of finishing therapy, back out of debt, putting life back in normal, getting back to work and back to a swimming coach I was, doing this and doing that, life flying, holidays, life great. And then I started converting my garage into a bar, a sports bar. Bit like over COVID, everyone wanted it, but it's something I wanted for about 15 years. And I did everything with this garage. I spent around about £10,000, converted it, so insulated everything. And ultimately, I finished it in the summer. And I remember the kid's mum, ex-partner now, my addiction lost everything for me, and something I needed to go to. But came in there one time at 3:30 in the morning and listening to 80s music, however many alcohols deep. And she goes, this bar will be the death of us. Like, as you do, getting a bit of a fucking slap on the face off your, well, not an actual physical slap. And I remember sitting there and that night going, doesn't matter how many of these drinks I have, I will never touch cocaine ever again. 6 months later, I was locked in that room with all the keys. Nobody could get in. I was spying on my kids going to school in the mornings, spying on the missus. But now I know, I look back to that day, I challenged my addictive voice. It was like, oh, I think of my addictive voice as a third person now. It's like, oh, never use again, will you? But now I look at that whole time of converting that garage into a bar was my addiction. But I'd never put alcohol down in my life. Never realised I had to.
So I don't know if you've heard, mate. I speak of Voldemort. I do when I talk in my addictive voice.
Yeah, I've seen something.
Yeah, I've named. So the way name and shame, right? Name it, shame it.
Yeah.
So every time I think, so when we talk about the addiction, I said I use my addictive voice, and I speak of it in Voldemort third person. Do you know when you say my addiction ruined everything? Do you class the addiction as a third person voice or almost like a separate entity? Because I know in Rational Recovery they talk of the beast, don't they?
Yeah. So I think the way I look at it now, I see it as another part of my brain. So
do you see it as part of you?
It's part of me, but it's not the part of me who I want to be.
Yeah.
So ultimately, because otherwise that will just be diminishing in responsibility. Now, I developed my addiction. I played my part.
Yeah.
But without drugs and alcohol, I would never have acted in that way. But I couldn't see that at the time. So ultimately, going back to where we were in that bar, and it was, I can remember, I don't know my sober date because I don't count any longer. And that's part of the tools that we use, because the only one who wants to know my sober date is my addiction, so it can start to build up anxiety and, oh, you're this far along, etc. But I know my relapse date from that year, and it was December the 12th. And we were at Christmas shopping in Liverpool, and I can see it all now. I can see all of them 18 months or so. 2 years, whatever it was. I could see the addiction in process now. I couldn't see it at the time. I could see what I was doing. I was running 100 mile per hour. I was doing this. I was doing that, and I was behaving like an addict, just not drinking and using. And I relapsed on a Christmas shopping trip in Liverpool, just me and my partner at the time. And the week after, I used again. I remember out in town in Denby, and I driving over curbs, just trying to find. And within 3 weeks or so, I was back to where I had at the end of the last relapse. The amounts I was using, the amounts I was staying awake, the hiding. And I was sat in that bar. I can remember about 4 o'clock in one morning thinking, how can I recover? I tried all the therapists. I tried all the hypnotherapists, AA, CA, doctors, A&E. I thought, I'm not going to be able to recover. Dilwyn, who had patched me together for 18 months, this therapist, I can't go back there again. It hasn't worked. I can remember scrolling in the early hours of the morning. How to recover. What can I do? I come across smart recovery. I come across this and that and that. And I come across rational recovery. And I come across a podcast. Rational Recovery podcast, Lee Butler. I was like, oh, what's this? And I started watching it, and I was like, oh my fucking God, I couldn't watch it. Well, I could watch it, my addiction couldn't watch it.
The voice was telling you not to.
Yeah, and I got halfway through, and it was, oh my God, that's what's going on in my head. And ultimately, from that moment, I looked into Break Free, and that was in January 2022. I didn't join Break Free until the start of 2024.
Really?
2 years my addictive voice talked me out of it. It knew the answers were there. But there's a part in the Rational Recovery book, I don't know if you're aware of it, when it says, I will never drink ever again. So Jack Trimpey, obviously, you're aware of Jack Trimpey, who is an alcoholic. So I will never drink ever again. But obviously to align it with drugs, she said, I will never drink alcohol or take drugs ever again. And I couldn't say them words. I couldn't say them words because that was like...
It's because you didn't want to. Inevitably, right? There was a small part of you that still wanted to drink and use drugs, probably.
My addiction.
So it's telling you, we can't say those things. So when you say it's a part of your brain, right? Let's take it as a we analogy for now. We can't say those things because deep down, we don't understand what our values are yet. I was having a similar conversation last night with a friend of mine. He's big into 12-step recovery.
Yeah.
That's fine. I've got no issue with it.
Same.
No issue. But for me, I feel as though there's a lot more around identity work that I've done. That's helped me recover. Like when people say, we will always be in recovery, I disagree. I believe that with recovery is to recover to a certain point. But the likes of yourself, with the growth that you've put into yourself, you're beyond recovery. You know what I mean? So let's take a muscle, for instance. Once it's recovered, it gets back to a certain size, right? By putting it under the stress, under the strain of lifting weights, it grows bigger. Would you say after 12 months, if the muscles, let's picture it, if the muscle's a certain size and in 12 months it's twice the size, do you say that's a recovered muscle? Or would you say it's vastly improved, it's bigger, it's stronger? And so where I'm getting to is he said, at this moment in time, I'm good. Everything's in place for me to be performing well. But, and this is the guy who mentored me, then he came in, but something might happen. If I don't stay on top of my game, there's a possibility. Now, for me, that doesn't work. I will never drink and use drugs ever again. But I've said that from the moment I made a conscious choice to stop. we spoke about rock bottom before, there's no such thing. I hit the worst time in my life 3 years ago, but carried on drinking, carried on using drugs. And then back in the last year, I made the choice. I'm going out next week, and that's it. And I've never drunk since.
Right, okay.
And I never will, because the framework, the baseline's there. Do you know what I mean? And that's what I really liked about the break free analogy and how you guys do what you do, because you're not starting from the top. You're starting from the bottom and building up. Do you know what I mean? Whereas, and again, that's not me being negative to other recovery services. A lot of the time they get broken down from the bottom, from the top, and then rebuild. Whereas break free, I think, I've done a podcast with Marcus. I think it was brilliant. And there's the NLP work. There's loads of books there on NLP. I think it's fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I found it easy to say, I'll never drink and use again. I just found it easy.
I think, and that was the test with it, now knowing what I know, that was that test of, and I'll use it with when I've explained, I'm very open and honest to everyone now, because the addiction can only live in secrets and lies.
Yeah.
Not being open and honest, so I'm very open and honest with my children now. We have the best conversations ever.
Yeah.
We talk about what's current, etc. They know they can come to me. However, I explain it to them like that. Say to yourself, I will never eat sweets again. Pause, and then tell me what the next thought is. Tell me what you hear. And you're like, of course I will. Exactly.
Yeah.
So what I couldn't say to myself, and I was in fear after reading that sentence, and I was sat there. I can remember sat there and just in pieces. And only 3 weeks into a relapse, which lasted for 2 years. Now my relapses used to last 3 months. So I would relapse. I'd be a daily user for about 3 months. Maybe spend about £10,000 through the most horrendous behaviours of payday loans and credit cards, and then I'd rush to therapy, have 12 weeks of therapy, and be okay for 6 months. Relapse, use, 9 months, relapse, use, and just going back into the same behaviours. And ultimately, during that final relapse, it's my last relapse, I know I will never, ever drink or use again. Now I could say that, and I don't hear anything in there.
Yeah, with comfort.
My addiction knows. But I remember being in the summer of 2022, and the kid's mum just saying to me, it's just hell for her. My behaviour was horrendous. I was an absolute piece of shit. But I wasn't in control of it. I didn't know what, and I couldn't recover that time. And she was going, why are you doing it? Why are you doing it? And I was like, I couldn't tell her about this voice. Or my addiction didn't want me to tell her because she'll think I'm schizophrenic.
Sound like a madman.
Yeah, but I wanted to tell her about this voice. And I can picture it in the back garden now when the sun was bright, and it's like, I want to tell her about this voice that I've heard in this Rational Recovery in the podcast, but I can't watch the podcast because my addiction won't let me. And I was like, but there are moments I had to go through. Then you go back to the rock bottom. It wasn't even rock bottom. I look at it, and it's like, it wasn't even rock bottom. It got worse than that. I attempted my life 4 times. 4 serious times I attempted my life. On one of them, I ended up in hospital for 2 days after. And that wasn't even enough. I still carried on for a year after that. So it's...
It's...
And I smile. I'm not smiling. It's just... It's hard to believe. But you know what I am now? I'm so grateful for going through addiction. I would not change going through addiction for the person I am now. And that's one fuck of a statement. It's just, I wouldn't.
That's a big statement, isn't it?
It's a huge statement because it's you touched on values before. I went into Break Free. It was my last hope. So I managed to get into Break Free at the start of 2024. The year building up to getting into Break Free, I was playing email tennis each week. Each month, I was playing email tennis. I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out, I'm in, I'm out. Payday come, bang, drinking use. All my money. My addiction was just taking the money, and then I'd carry on a binge. I hadn't been to work for 11 months in my relapse in 2022. I ended up in rehab. So I had been ultimately in the end, the ex-partner, she phoned the police. I thought I was doing jobs in the attic. I was hiding in there.
Yeah.
I look back and I'm like,
I've done that.
Yeah, I thought I was doing DIY. I was doing DIY, but I was actually hiding. My addiction had me hiding. There was no one in the house. The kids had left. The missus had left. They'd gone to the... It'd all gone, came back, phoned the police. The police escorted me out of the house, and then I spent the night on the streets and ended up in a rehab in Darlington. And again, that wasn't enough that I carried on. So I put my life back together temporarily for about a year. My daughter wouldn't come near me. My 2 sons were with me, but I was lying through my teeth. That year was just horrendous. And that's when I was like, started questioning. August 2023, I started questioning, how will I ever stop using if I don't stop drinking alcohol? And what was I? I was age 40 then. I was like, it's taken me till then to start thinking, where's the focus? I don't know whether you think, when you're saying hiding in the attic
and I think, so I did something similar. I used to hide in the attic.
Yeah. Oh my God.
But it was never, at the time, you don't think you're hiding. Like you said there, you think you're doing something different. And that's what I thought I was doing. I was up there doing something, but inevitably I was hiding, not just from other people, but from myself as well. And so
don't see a mirror. Just don't even walk. Yeah. You're not going to see any mirrors up there. But you can move a tile in the roof to spy on someone, a noise outside. That mad behaviour. Yeah. It's that hide from yourself. It's like...
It's funny, we mentioned rock bottom before, right? And a question I asked you before we turn these cameras on, I'm going to ask you it again.
Yeah.
Everybody, not everybody, a lot of people say, you've got to hit rock bottom. And I like the answer you gave me before because it's similar to mine, is that everybody says there's only one way up from rock bottom. Rock bottom builds champions. It also breaks families' hearts, rock bottom, because people take their own lives. People never come back from addiction. They stay in it for their whole lives and die. So when we talk rock bottom, and again, I don't like using that word, but I'll use it for the sake of the conversation. Why do you think a lot of people necessarily believe they have to go there versus if we were to visualize it, how could we, more important, why is the most important part? Why could we improve beforehand? So say, for instance, you're on a rocky road, the road that you've walked down yourself. If we were to look back on you 3 years ago, a lot of people say you have to, especially in 12-step programs, they'll say you have to deem yourself powerless. Yeah. So my question is, at that moment in time, when a lot of people who will listen to this deem themselves powerless, what if we were to flip that and say you are powerful? At that moment, that very moment, what do you think the difference would make, if any?
I think from what we now know, what we know, if we touch on 12 steps before we go to that, how do I answer that? Ultimately, I went to CA.
So you've done the 12 steps?
Yeah, I didn't go through them because they just didn't resonate. I didn't like that powerless.
No, mate.
I admit I could do step 1.
Admission.
I'm powerless. So we have a list of pain in Break Free. So I come back, I touch on what you said about rock bottom, but we have a list of pain in Break Free. I've read it this morning. It's all the reasons why I will never drink or use again. It's a book. My kids have been told, just don't read it. I always leave it out, but don't read it. If you want to read it, be prepared to see some horrendous things in there. That's fine. But it's out. I read it this morning, but a couple of days ago I put some... So I'm very fortunate that Marcus invited me to be part of the team for Break Free. So I'm part of the team now.
Oh, are you? You're part... All right. Yeah. That's cool.
And do you know what? That's it. I couldn't even be trusted to grow a tomato. Never mind trusted other people's lives and addictions.
That's because your values have changed, though.
Massively. I'm going into Break Free. I've probably cascaded off the subject now. We'll get back there. Yeah. It's how it works. I went into Break Free. And I just, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. and I'll do it. Because I've got no way back. And it was like, talking about, I remember in my first meeting, there was a guy, he was moaning about his partner. I was sat in my first meeting, and my ego and my addiction were telling me, you've got this. You've done group therapy before, you've done therapy before. And I walked into that room in Break Free, in Liverpool, in Bootle.
We've been there in the basement.
Yeah, in the basement. And do you know what? As soon as I walked in there, my addiction was telling me I was sound all the way to Liverpool. I looked and I was like, how the fuck is he that happy? Look at her skin. Look at his skin. Look at that. These people are actually happy. And then I looked at myself. I was like, oh my God. I sort of melted in my chair and I was like, I'm definitely not okay. And that was that realisation of there. And then as the programme progressed, they were talking about morals, values, emotions, beliefs, ethics. And I was like, do you know what I had to do? I had to Google the words. I had to Google it. The grown man, 3 kids. I had to Google what the words meant, moral and values. I had none. I had zero. I had zilch. I was stripped to the bone. But my addiction was telling me, you're sound, you're okay, keep going. It wants to keep getting fed. But ultimately started working through all these. My first meeting, this guy was going on about his partner, having arguments with his partner. I was like, what the fuck's he going on about? It's not addiction. Then you learn. We all drink and use on the back of emotions.
Of course. So,
touching on that, I sat in that chair and it was the reason I'd had enough. You'll see in the Break Free room, have you had enough? And this is the moment of all the rock bottoms, what you're saying to it. I'll say before, and I got this sort of analogy off Marcus, but there's one, I learned so much off them. It's unbelievable. But now I have my own views.
Of course.
Which
Your own
fall
values.
in line with them. So I have all the education from them, all the education from other therapists and bits and bobs all the time, which didn't work, but parts did. And then I have my own experience of addiction. So you get your own beliefs and values, as you're saying. And it was just every rock bottom. So I pictured it like snakes and ladders. I mentioned it before. When I first reached out for help in 2007 to Kais, I was at rock bottom. I couldn't stop. I had to admit I had a cocaine addiction.
Yeah.
I climbed a ladder after that. I fell on a snake. Climbed a ladder, fell on a snake. Climbed a ladder, fell on a snake. Climbed a ladder, fell on a snake. Every snake took me lower. Every time I reached out for help, I was at rock bottom. So there's not one rock bottom. There's multiple rock bottoms. But you tend to go further and further. When I reached out to Break Free, or when I committed to Break Free once and for all, that day of paying the money, sending the money to them, honestly, you should have, the battle, I was running around the house having a panic attack. I'd been using for 2 days. All I had to do, I had the bank details. I had them. The bank detail that told me, transfer £160 into this account. My addiction was like, don't fucking pay for your recovery. Fuck that. You don't want to pay for your recovery. You can pay to develop your addiction, but don't pay for your recovery. Fuck that. You want that for free. And it was just...
So to that point there, right, this has been not a topic of discussion or debate with anybody, because for me, my recovery, I'm recovered.
Yeah.
It's not up for debate. It's mine, my values, my beliefs, my thought process, my skills, my behaviours. But when you listen to social media, has a lot of conversation around addiction and recovery now, TikTok, Instagram. Fine. I'll go where I know I can go. But there's a lot of, I don't want to say misunderstanding, because that's their viewpoint on what addiction and recovery is. So I'll only stick to who I know. Not what I know, but who I know. I'm learning a lot from 1 or 2 people who are fucking Jedi masters at this stuff. Yeah. And I hear the terminology a lot. Recovery is free, right? And at first I just heard it as a passing comment. And then I was sat with me missus, and I put this woman through fucking hell for a couple of years, mate. When I met her 3 years ago, I told her I'm not an addict, because everybody from my previous marriage, everybody knew me as somebody who takes drugs.
Yeah.
I'm not an addict, and she believed me. But at the time, this is the fucked up thing. I actually believed myself as well when I was saying it.
Believe your own shit.
Yeah. And so anyway, 3 years went on. We went through some really difficult times, traumatized the woman with the way that I was.
Yeah.
Really hurt her. And it makes me sad thinking about it now. And, you know, and we sat on the sofa and she goes, what did that just say then? And I said, oh, there's somebody saying that recovery is free. And she went, well, you paid for your fucking addiction. Why can't you pay for your recovery? And I was like, wow, she's right.
Where did that come from?
Yeah, but she's dead right. And I completely agree with it. But the one thing I will say is you have to ensure the people that you're willing to hand over your money to are capable. And Break Free, I think, is fucking brilliant. We went there, didn't we, Callum? And I thought, these know what they're doing. These know what they're doing here.
It's and you're deadly right. I will sing the praise. I'm an advocate for them. I was grateful to be invited to be part of the team.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
I will never relapse again. Relapses always used to be inevitable. Now they're avoidable. Relapses are avoidable. And once you get these tools, they know what they're doing. What I needed eventually, and when you're saying about all the social media and bits and bobs, people's opinions, even Dr. Gabor Mate.
Love him.
However, there was something I saw the other day it was talking about shame. Every addict was living in shame before they were an addict. And I'm like, where's he going with it? I know Dr. Gabor Mate, I think he had a shopping addiction.
Right? Classical CDs.
Right there. So I haven't looked into it that much, but I think where I am, I had every excuse going why I've got an addiction. So from age 11, I was brought up, and this is what Break Free helped me align. I needed to be with people who haven't got a PhD or a master's or a counsellor. I needed to be with people who have been through the shit I've been through, as in lived addiction and got through the other side. Once I started seeing, obviously, Lee Butler, I used to go and watch him play in the 051 and stuff like that. Yeah. Now I know from his podcast, and from knowing him, he was hiding behind the decks. He didn't, like we were hiding in the attic. Marcus, everybody there, as soon as I stepped into Break Free, my ego, my addiction used to tell me I'm the worst person ever. In my hometown of Denby, everyone knew I was a cocaine addict. Family, friends, work, whatever. Everyone knew Justin's got a problem. So then I would tell myself the story. No one's as bad as you. No one's done the shit you've done. No one's done the manipulation, the lies, the cheating, the stealing, the robbing, the hiding, just the horrendous behaviour. So then I felt I was on my own. I stepped into Break Free in Liverpool. And the WhatsApp groups, it's just...
The realisation that you aren't alone, isn't it?
I'm not alone. Suddenly I'm getting people told they've done this, they've done that, they've done that. I was thinking, oh, fucking hell, it's not just me. So it's not... And then you realise everybody in addiction does very similar behaviours, off the scale, just to feed the addiction. So I felt at home. And then I realised these people, look at them. They're broken free from their addiction. And
that's what I love about the word Break Free, right? Because you would have learned this. I don't know the program that Break Free offer, but so I'm doing a level 7 in psychology. I'm studying trauma, studying neuroscience, studying biology, studying neurolinguistics programming. I'm doing, all these books about the brain, all sorts. So I don't know the program, but I believe we've got similar mindsets or similar values attached to how we want to view recovery, right? So, shame. Do you feel shame now?
No.
Did shame ever serve a purpose for you in recovery?
It served my addiction a purpose.
Did it serve your growth a purpose?
Fuck no.
So a conversation, again, we had last night was, how do I deal with the shame now I'm in recovery? And I said, what shame?
Yeah, exactly.
And again, everybody, and these aren't debates, these aren't arguments. This is a pure conversation between two friends. Because a friend of mine who's in the 12-step program, I see him as a good friend of mine now. because we're on similar journeys and we all grow together, right? Never mind recovery programs as human beings, right? We're all human beings at the first point of call. So I've learned stuff from him that he done in 12 steps. I've learned connection is protection. Love that motto. Love it. But I've also taught him things. And he asked me and the guy who's mentoring me last night, how does shame serve you in recovery? For me, when we talk identity, right? To me, attach that shame to me now as Lee. That is to tell me, or that sends a message out to everybody else that there's something internally broken about me as a human being. You know, I did this because I am this. You're giving identity to shame. I was this way because I am this way. I'll always be this way. I'll always have to work through these emotions. When that's not the case. That is not the case. By changing values and beliefs, your identity, I don't know whether they talk about quantum physics in Break Free, but it's just your reality's changing. The more you attach certain values and beliefs and behaviours, your identity will shift all the time.
I think that I could sum it up there. I wouldn't say we talk quantum physics. Neuroplasticity and rewinding that brain, definitely. But you can even, do you know what? And I can touch on, you touched on your partner not long ago. Now, my kids, my ex-partner, my nieces, nephews, the in-laws family, my family, friends, I broke all of them. Without alcohol and drugs, I wouldn't have broke all of them. Yeah, so I forgive myself for that behaviour in addiction. Now, you were saying about the shame, you should feel shame, or some people want to feel that shame. Now, there's people from my past life who would expect me to carry that burden of shame. And do you know what? Rightly so. I hurt you hurt me. However, through Break Free, I've grown. So what I could manage to do was, through all them periods of the years since 2007 when I'd go to therapy or hypnotherapy, I stopped drinking and taking drugs. Do you know what? I didn't even stop drinking because I would manipulate my therapist to say I didn't drink that much. Yeah, and then the therapist said, okay, you're fine. Because they don't know, so what we're saying, I need to be with somebody who's been through addiction. A therapist with a PhD who hasn't lived addiction doesn't realise everything has to go. Not just the cocaine and carry on drinking, or not just the cannabis and you carry on doing ecstasy, or not. It's cross addiction.
Absolutely.
So everything has to go. It's dopamine. In my eyes, it's dopamine chasing. Complete dopamine chasing. What do I get the most dopamine from? So then you have to start looking at porn and caffeine and sugar and all these things. But ultimately, where was I going with that? I was going with
shame, was it?
Yeah, so these people here would expect me to carry the burden of shame. Now, so I forgive myself. Now, for me, I had to say to my ex-partner long ago, and not anything right, you're angry at a person that doesn't exist any longer. That just in there, I don't recognise him. I read my list of pain this morning. I read it yesterday. There was 2 words in it that I put in the WhatsApp groups for a bit of a task yesterday. 2 words, unbearable and unstoppable. And it took me straight back to, Then I carried on reading different entries, reading other entries, descriptive entries in my book. So handwritten, right, this moment, this happened, the emotions attached, etc. And the further I get along in this book, I just cry. Every time. I read about 10 entries and I can't stop tears.
What makes you cry about it? What makes you emotional?
That piece of shit I was. I'm no longer that person. I'm not stuck there. I've forgiven myself. I'm me. I don't recognise that person.
Go on.
Go on. So the emotion, it's more of it's an emotion I don't want to feel again. And an emotion I'll never feel again. As in...
Which is what? What emotion?
The pain, the despair, the torment, the broken feeling.
So when we talk emotions, It's more of a...
It's emotions that were attached to addiction. So just say my addiction ever come in, and it comes in, it talks. It talked yesterday. I was on the way home from somewhere yesterday, and it goes, "You could use now." Come from nowhere. You could use now. I know where it's from because I track the thought behind the thought. Paired associations. So part of the tools for break free, if my addiction speaks, like what I said, so I will never drink or use again. And if I wait for the thought and the thought goes, "Of course you will." Oh, my addiction's just set, so I'll voice it. Of course I will. My addiction's just said, of course I'll drink again. Okay, so I've caught that, what my addiction just caught. I separated it because it's not my thought, because it's a thought around drink or drugs. Then I'll fast forward the tape. Now, fast forwarding the tape will show the addiction, access my rational brain, the prefrontal cortex, show my addiction the ending. So my addiction's just said, of course I'll have a drink again. I'm going to show my addiction what it looks like if I have a drink again. And that's what my list of pain is. So it'll be like, this time I drank, what can I give you an example of? Okay, I was reading one this morning. There's so many. Do you know what? It does that to my belly. It's that emotion attached to that horrendous behaviour, locked in the garage, blowing holes in my nose, just peeping out the window, or just... do you know what? I can't feel.
Do you know where the feelings in your stomach come from?
Go on.
So, have you ever heard of something called the vagus nerve?
Yes.
So I've studied something called polyvagal theory, which Dr. Stephen Porges spoke about a few times. So, have you heard of a book, The Body Keeps the Score?
Yeah.
By Bessel van der Kolk?
Not read anything, but...
Brilliant book. Oh. Talks about how the body feels before the mind thinks.
Mm.
And that is through your central nervous system. Then, if it's something erratic, that makes you operate out the limbic system part of the brain.
The feeling is a thought.
The body feels before the mind thinks. So if I was to give you an example, let's take soldiers. Soldier gets shot in the leg or in the arm, doesn't feel it, carries on, boom, he's in the zone. As soon as somebody goes, fucking hell, look at that, you've got a bullet hole in your leg. Now, this is just an example, a wild example. He looks down, pain, straight away, shit. Brain goes, oh no, trigger, we need help. That's when, they'll start passing out or not able to think straight. But because they haven't felt it, because the adrenaline's so high, cortisol's high, stress levels are through the roof, they don't know they've been shot. I know a guy who was wounded in Afghanistan.
Adrenaline's like a painkiller.
Yeah. He said, I didn't even know I'd been hurt. But soon as he had been told, then he acknowledged the pain.
Yeah.
So he acknowledged the feeling. Then the brain goes, shit, we need to get into defense mode here. So the body feels before the mind thinks. So when we talk about that negative feeling, when it's the word, isn't it? I got a gut feeling.
You trust your gut.
Trust your gut, because the gut is associated with negative emotion.
Yeah.
So when we talk of polyvagal theory, you have ventral vagal. So I mentioned it on podcast last week. Let's talk traffic lights. Green is ventral vagal. You're operating, as we are now, out the prefrontal cortex or the neocortex, having a rational conversation. The environment's safe, you feel safe, and you're able to operate healthily. The amber light is fight or flight.
Yeah.
You think the environment's going to attack. And then you've got red, which is dorsal vagal. So when the terminology dorsal, so when you talk at the body, dorsal's low.
Yeah.
Ventral, high, here. So when you feel happy, you don't feel it in your stomach. Feel it here, back of the head. Everything's high, everything's positive.
Mm.
And so that's where it comes from, that negative emotion, that dorsal vagal approach. That's something that I've been working on a lot, especially because I'm not even 12 months into recovery, right?
Right, okay.
So what I do a lot of now is there's been moments, mate, where I'm in fucking freeze mode over the last 10 months where I'm like, I can't move here. Like, my nervous system's gone to shit. And that's just the body trying to get back to its natural state, right? It's been abused with drugs and alcohol for so long. The brain, neuroplasticity, the brain's constantly moving around. My body's coming off chemicals. I was addicted to Zoplicone sleeping tablets. So when I came into recovery, I didn't sleep for 3 months, probably an hour a night.
Yep.
So my body's all over the place. So
Chemicals resetting.
yeah. So at the time, I was like, what do I do? So then once I learned polyvagal theory, a lot of these techniques were used by Buddhists. So when we talk of mindfulness, meditations, all these types of things, all comes from the Eastern culture, all of it. And polyvagal theory is going to be one of the leading trauma-associated therapies, if you like, over the next 5 years. I've got a lady coming on the podcast who does a lot of biomarkers with trauma in the blood.
Yeah. Good.
She was one of the leading psychotherapists for the SAS for 20-odd years. And she's coming on here.
Knowledge.
I can't wait to speak to her.
No, I know.
And I mentioned polyvagal theory to her, and Bessel van der Kolk's book, The Body Keeps the Score, has been sort of the leading understanding and process of what trauma is. But she said to me last week, concentrate on polyvagal theory over the next couple of years, because she said it's getting bigger and bigger, and more knowledge more information is coming around polyvagal theory. So that's where I'm going to be focusing a lot of my attention.
So when you're saying with this, so, I feel what you're saying, so which is good, digging deep into certain areas. So, going off, so fresh into recovery. I say fresh, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm
Fresh out the toaster.
Yeah, well, it's like, I suppose with Break Free and going back there, and I think I had that gut feeling a minute ago where you said, I try to keep things simple for me. Everything works different for other people, isn't it?
Simplicity.
Because I know
massive.
my addiction at times wanted to start going off on fucking tangents. Let's go look into here. Let's see what emotions are trapped behind here. Let's see what's there, what's there. Because on the back of an emotion, it's got a chance to go, yeah, he's getting upset here, or however.
Fishing rod comes out.
Yeah, so it's got a chance to getting fed. I think of it as a scale. I'm not into conspiracy theories, but the government have it to a T. There's a drink for a celebration. There's a drink to drown your sorrows. So this emotion up here, this elated emotion at a wedding, will have a certain type of alcohol. Mm-hmm. This emotion down here, my fucking life's ending, there's a certain type of alcohol. So let's say from spirits to however. All between these emotions, I see it as there's hundreds of emotions in between. Happy, sad, angry, frustrated, anxious. There's a drink attached to each of them. Yeah, and that's how I see it. So it's like, I control my emotions now. Now, nobody has the right to shift my emotions. I'm in control.
Absolutely.
I didn't know what an emotion was when I went to Break Free. You'd saying about Marcus before. Suddenly, you were just saying your emotions there, and I'll touch on this a bit more when I was on about my list of pain a minute ago, because I've got an entry I was reading this morning which made me go, and I'll share that, I'll disclose that, because that's what helped rewire my brain. But sitting like yourself and I now, and Matt, I was like, I could feel these things in my chest about a few months into Break Free. Marcus said, they're your emotions.
Absolutely.
I was like, fuck off. I was like, my head goes, fuck's he on about? These fucking emotions. And he was like, they're your emotions. I was like, they fuck my emotions. I can just feel things. And my head wouldn't let it believe. And do you know why I laughed so much? I suppose I was stupefied because I didn't know what an emotion felt like. I went into Break Free and I didn't know. The only, and I've told this to a few people, the only emotion I knew how it felt was when a tear was going down my face. I didn't know, because you wore so many masks. It was like, I was happy. I wasn't really happy. I wasn't really happy. I wasn't really sad. I wasn't really anything because I didn't know who I was. I still don't exactly know who I am, but I tell you
That's
what,
fine.
I'm fucking getting there.
Yeah.
And it's fucking, I love who I am. But I had a family, and we had a mortgage, and we had cars, and we had holidays every year, and I was the best dad and the best uncle, and I wanted to be the best everything. But looking back, and a best partner when the cocaine wasn't round, and it was just a mask. It was a mask for every occasion. And my partner on the final, I would even say, even after I'd been to therapy, see, like me and you now, we've got thoughts behind our rational brain. And like, she would be looking at me thinking, he's okay now. He's okay, he's been to therapy. And I'd be looking at her thinking, I am okay now. But I wasn't. If I have to be completely honest with myself, there was something I did not feel safe. I was in fear. I was in fear for 20 years that, yes, Lodi, or yes, everybody, I am okay. But I can't say it. It'll never happen again. Because I was in fear of my addiction. Go on.
Let's take it back 20 years then.
Yeah.
If you could picture that fear on a TV screen, or if you were to paint it on a wall, how would you describe that fear in the early stages of addiction? If you could give it imagery and sound, what would it look like? What would it say to you? How would it feel? Let's think of it of a big fucking picture on a wall.
Yeah, how would it feel? Do you know what? It's half its arm on me.
That's powerful. I like that.
There's nothing wrong with this. You're okay. This is normal. There, bang.
Normality.
I was speaking to a lad. Oh, and this takes me back. This is probably going back 20 years. I was speaking to him by the Chippy not long ago, and he's seen my Instagram and Facebook, and I'm loud and proud on them now because I learned that you can't not do... Addiction can't live in secrets and lies.
Yeah.
Everyone needs to know. Absolutely. Work needs to know. Everyone needs to know. There's nothing to be ashamed of. Shit happens.
Yeah.
Yeah. Own it, fix it, do the work.
I agree.
And for once in my life, I got fucking accountable. There's no excuses. I developed my addiction.
Absolutely.
I took things too much. I once enjoyed it. I took it too much. So there's a guy in Break Free, Mick, fucking amazing. Absolute brutal scouser. He's about in his 50s and about a few weeks in to Break Free. And we walk on a Saturday from one spot down to a cafe back. And my addiction was my addiction wasn't getting fed alcohol and cocaine. So then it has to start looking off and starting shifting things. Oh, what can we look at now? Let's dig into a bit of childhood past. Let's dig into this. Let's dig into that. And I was speaking to this guy, Mick, and he goes, I was like, oh, man. And he goes, get that bollocks out your head. Your addiction's looking for excuses. He goes, you tried it, you liked it, you used it, you abused it, you developed an addiction, now fucking fix it. And I was like, you know what? That made me take so much accountability because my addiction was still looking like in 12 Steps program, like in everything else, in therapy, in CBT, there's always a reason. There's a reason you got an addiction. It's because your mum ran away when you were a kid. It's because your dad didn't look after you. You were brought up by your nan inside. It's because of this, because of that. And my addiction was doing that. And I needed them words to go, I need to fucking own this now. And he was deadly right. Deadly right.
I think accountability is massive. So when we talk, I'll ask you the question in a minute, but when people have asked me, what do you think addiction is? Some people say disease, some people say choice, some people whatever. And I'm a big believer that it is a response. I believe it's a response to pain and suffering. Addiction now.
Yeah.
That's a response to pain and suffering. When you're sad, when we say the word response, right? So you mentioned their childhood being brought up by X, Y, and Z or grandparents. I believe they're massive contributing factors for our inability to regulate ourselves emotionally. So like you said there, I didn't know what emotions were.
Yeah.
All that, what you're saying, whether the way you were brought up contributes massively to that point where you don't know what emotions are. I know people who've been through some really difficult times through their lives, never used.
Exactly.
Because they understand their emotions a lot better than people in addiction. So when you listen to Gabor Mate, right? Addiction is a psychological and emotional response to human suffering. I've got that fucking nailed to a T, and I believe that. I believe that we use different terminologies to identify what addiction is, but we're all humans, we're all different. We've all got different pasts, different stories, and it's important. I've got a friend at the moment who's really struggling. He's in recovery, doing really well. He's well known. He's been on Lad Bible. He's been in the paper. So I start asking him questions based on his emotions now, always. And he fucking hates it. Shuts down immediately.
Right.
And he says, I don't need to go into my past. And I said to him, in order to move forward, you have to go to the past. Because when we talk experiences, right? So let's say, for instance, and I've used this terminology or analogy a few times, you experienced something that overloaded your nervous system, because that's what trauma is. Trauma is just an overload of the nervous system. The body can't deal with it, so it fucking shuts everything down. You can't deal with it. So when, say something happened when you were 15 and it was severe, caused trauma. As me, who's 38 years old now, if I was still using, if I hadn't put these tools and techniques in place, say, for instance, I was just sat at home one day and I thought back to that time as a 15-year-old, I don't revisit that moment as a 38-year-old man. I revisit as a 15-year-old.
Yeah.
Because trauma sticks in a time zone. So if something happened to you when you were 15, whatever, trauma sticks with that 15-year-old version of you. And it's only by doing, I'd imagine, the work that you've done in Break Free, understanding the emotion, you can therefore then change the emotion attached to that memory.
I understand what you're saying.
So for me, I held a lot of anger towards my mother for a long, long time. A long time. Now, it used to be this. Now it's like minuscule.
So did you drink and use on the back of that?
I started drinking as a...
Not because of, but on the back of it. So would you have at a point gone, the anger pops into your head, and you drink and use?
Straight away.
Yeah. Not why you developed drink, but ultimately.
Yeah. And that's what I'm a strong believer in. If we understand the whys, the hows and the whens and the wheres become irrelevant. Because the guy that we were speaking about last night, when he said, as long as he's got his shit in order, he'll never use. But if his shit falls apart...
But how does your shit fall apart? Because
of the emotions, your values. Because your inability to not saying you.
No, yeah.
But because if somebody doesn't understand what an emotion is, and this is going to be my question, and then if somebody doesn't understand what that emotion is, it feels alien to them. So then the pain and suffering comes in.
Right.
And then the response is addiction, response is alcohol, the response is drugs, because we want to masks. I don't know if you've seen, I talk to the mirror of 1,000 faces.
Yes, I've seen, I think.
All you do is chuck a mask on and go out and pretend that you're happy with all your mates.
And masks serve a purpose at times.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
are they detrimental to your recovery?
So what is an emotion?
What is an emotion? An emotion to me, now, it's a feeling attached to a memory. The body's response to... how would I say?
I don't think there's a right or wrong answer.
No, there wasn't. I'm just trying to think. So when you're saying with this, it's good because I've still got work to do.
We all have. All of us, every day.
But this is the best part. So, and you'll be aware, there's a program now called Beyond Break Free.
Yeah.
So, which deals with our job, or Break Free's job, is to get you clear, break free from addiction.
Yeah.
And with that comes digging into... Anyone can stop drinking and taking drugs. And this is what it said. These aren't my words. But are you still living like an addict? Mm-hmm. Now, for all them years, I could stop drinking and taking drugs for a period of time, but my behaviours went straight back, which is why this Beyond Break Free's come along. I'm not quite ready to do Beyond Break Free. I will do it.
And that's fine.
And I'm really excited with, there's work with Lauren and Jen, and there's some deeper work to do about these feelings and emotions. Yeah. For me, on Break Free, and I spoke to some really great team members at the times, and I'll give them shout outs, Anthony, Tom, people, JJ, they almost, my addiction got fed on the back of childhood traumas.
Absolutely.
Or had excuses, which is great, however you want to look at it. So whilst I was trying to break free from my addiction getting fed, it served me no purpose to go back into my childhood.
I agree.
Yeah, it's not because I'm scared of. Now I can deal with it now, but I'm not quite ready. Now there might be things to go in there. It won't serve me any purpose at the moment at the stage I am to go, because I've got so much. My life's amazing, and it's not that I'm scared. There's work for me to do there.
Yeah.
It might be the next course in October. It might be in a year or 2 years.
Keep it simple,
but
right?
for
Like
now,
you said.
I'm enjoying. I've broken free from my addiction that I thought I never would.
Nice.
And that I was stuck. So at the end of all them rock bottoms that we said before, I was in peace. It wasn't fucking losing the septum in my nose or trying to take my own life or losing my kids and the kids' mum and the house, almost a job, ended up in the fucking bed sitting real in the homeless shelter. And it wasn't all them things, my rock bottoms. You know what it was? And I'd had enough. I was sat in my house in Ruthin. I had no one around me. I'd carried on drinking and using after going to rehab. Oh, I'll say it wasn't rehab, it was actually an acute mental health ward. They were going to keep me alive because I was just going to take my life. I went to Glenclwyd Hospital in A&E. A friend took me here and they said, oh, we'll give you a bed in the Ablett ward, but we can't section you because you're not mentally unstable. I was like, no, but if you leave me here, I'm gonna take my own life. There's no other way out. It's not the first time I tried to take my life. And they said, we'll give you a bed in the Ablett ward. And I was like, they said, but you'll have to go to the edge of the road. You know what bottle with it is, don't you? You'll have to go to the edge of the road to smoke. And I said, exactly. I said, if I go out to that edge of the road to smoke, I will be getting cocaine dropped off there.
100%,
The reason why I'm going, so they gave me a place in Darlington, absolutely fantastic. But as soon as I came out of there, I went straight. Next payday, I got out. I didn't know all this. It was a week before Christmas. I got out of there. I hired a hotel for a night in Rill and cleaned out about 500 quid. Straight out of rehab to there. It was just wasn't. But ultimately, what I'm trying to say is none of them are my rock bottoms. It was a year or so later. And I was just peace. I was in peace, as in, not the peace I'm in now. I was calm. I was in. My behaviours were horrendous. I'd been off work again for 3 months. I was lying. The police were coming round. Twice the police had been called out to my house from work. They were climbing up to my bedroom window in a ladder. I was just like hidden in there. Just the behaviour for weeks on end was it snowballed again, and every morning, about 4:30 in the morning, I'd pull all the towels down from the windows so no light would escape. And then about 4:30 every afternoon, I'd put all these towels back up so no light would escape. I was getting deliveries of alcohol and cocaine to the house. Whatever. I had nobody there. There was no kids there. There was no missus. There was no family. There was no friends. There was no work. And I sat there and I was like, I'm stuck. I'm fucking stuck in addiction. And do you know what? There was no emotion. Like I said before, when I went into Break Free and I realised I was stripped bare, I was stripped bare. There was no one to lie to anymore. There was no one to manipulate. There was nowhere to... Yeah. I was still managing somehow with my credit rating to get at 6 o'clock in the morning, £2,000 sent through on a payday loan and that. I'm like, how are these people giving me money? And just after all the years. And it's like, I smile because it's like, there must be somebody at the other end of these computers going, we shouldn't be giving him money. Yeah. But, oh, yeah, we'll give him another $2,000 and carried on and on. But ultimately, that's where my rock bottom was almost a state of calmness where I just go, I've had enough. I'm stuck. And there's no way. Once I'd had that, it was like, and once I entered Break Free, it was like, there's no going back. Just tell me what to do. And that's why I know I will never, ever drink or use again. And it's not, it's just, I know. I don't need to justify it to anyone anymore. I used to, like yourself probably, you used to have to tell everyone, no, I won't, no, I won't, no, I won't. And you do. No, I won't, no. Hundreds of times. You believe your own bullshit, but then nobody else will trust you. But now, I've got such a small circle. My circle is me, my 3 children, my 9 inside.
Love that.
I've got friends from primary school. I had to cut everyone off. It goes back to that. I'll be polite to everybody, but they were part of Justin's life, the old Justin's life. I could stop drinking and taking drugs, but still live this life. Old friends, partner, etc., etc., etc. I had to change everything. I had to listen to what they said. You need to change conversations, boundaries, barriers, masks, work on your emotions, your traumas, who you're speaking to, where are you going, all these things. And it was just 10% is putting down alcohol and cocaine. 90% is working on everything that will not lead you back there. And that's what I hadn't done over them years. And now I'm doing it. I've done it, but I'm doing it. So when I look at it, you touched on something before about behaviours. My addiction, I look at my head, and you'll relate to this. So I've got my neocortex here. Mm-hmm. And I've got my emotional side of the brain here. And I've got my irrational side of the brain here. And I've got my addiction here. And I picture like a bit of a cursor pulling. So throughout my days, I try to live in my neocortex. If I start getting too emotional, then I'm getting pulled to being too irrational. And my addiction's just watching everything. So I just try to live here. And it's just, that's what I just sort of see and keeping the balance of myself. I'm very calm and very... But amongst all that, what you said about people who are on the steppers, 12-step program, I bumped into someone, a girl, a few months back. Don't really know her. She said, "How do you manage without going to meetings?" I was like, "What do you mean, how do I manage?" She goes, well, what? Don't you have to go to a meeting each week? I was like, "No." I said, "Why? What would happen if you didn't go to a meeting?" I said, "Would you drink or use?" She goes, "I don't know. I wouldn't like to try." I couldn't live my life like that.
No.
I couldn't live my life without finding the answers. And some people, you touched again before, was... that's another good one. Sorry. But there had to be answers to get out of addiction. And some people just give up. And rightly so, but I was at the doctor's. I was going to Copenhagen in January with my daughter. And I felt I had a bit of a chest infection. I thought, I don't want to spoil that. And I never go to the doctors. I went into the doctor's, and she was a very pretty doctor. First time I seen her. So she had my attention, obviously. And she goes, as she was listening to my chest and stuff, this was the 27th of December just gone. I thought, in case I need antibiotics, I'll go to the doctor. As she was listening to my chest, I looked at the screen, and I was like, oh my God. And she goes, "What?" And I was like, "That." And she goes, "What, do you need more?" I says, "Do I need more?" She goes, so on the screen, there was 3 mental health prescriptions. It doesn't matter, one for stress, one for depression, and another. 2 years to the date they were last prescribed, 27th of December back in 2022 or whatever it was. And she goes, "Do you need more?" I was like, "Do I need more?" I was like, "No." I says, "It's funny, isn't it? Remove the thing that's causing the mental health, and the mental health disappears." And we forgot about my chest. The next, we talked about addiction and recovery for 20 minutes. And she goes, "Do you know what? We don't see many people come out the other side." She goes, "I get so many people come in for addiction. We refer them on, we never see them again. But to see someone come out the other side," and I was like, "From a doctor?"
And I think that's part of the process, right? You mentioned it before about conspiracies. I don't think it's a conspiracy. I genuinely believe that we live in a world where it's full of things now that can turn us into or build addiction, create addiction, right? In the younger generation, social media, phones, all these things are creating mindsets that are easily manipulated, easily controlled, easily persuaded. You look at social media, there's always a new trend, and millions of people follow it, right? Songs, everything is designed. We live in a world that is designed, created. And I don't like using the word Matrix because that is a proper conspiracy word. But when you watch the film The Matrix, we live in a world like that.
It could be, even from a young boy when I watched that, it could be real.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So, have you heard of something called the neurological levels of change?
No, but I can, from you saying that, I could relate. Go on.
So, it's a tool used in NLP.
Yeah.
I came across it in January, like straight into my recovery. I was like, what is this? And I fucking love it. I love this. So basically, you can use it I've got it in a book, I'll show you it after here, in an iceberg form or a pyramid, doesn't matter. So if we take an iceberg, right? Upside down triangle.
Yeah.
And at the bottom, you have identity. The next level up, you could have, let's call it values. The next level up is beliefs. The next level up is behaviors. The next is skills. And on the top is environment.
Yep.
So just touching on what we were saying before, you said you'd use for 3 months, then you'd go sober for 6 months.
Yeah.
But the pattern stayed the same, right? The behaviors stayed the same.
Yeah.
So if you look at those levels of change, even though you'd stopped using, the identity hadn't changed, the values were still the same, the beliefs were still the same. So therefore, the behaviors stayed the same. All you've done is maybe change your environment. The environment's the top level, or took yourself away from certain friends and family, whatever. So when we talk emotions,
Yeah.
I believe, and I was taught this by the guy who's mentoring me, and I believe it though, emotions are the messengers. So if you think of it, emotions are your postman. They're the postman for your identity.
Okay.
So we were talking about triggers last night. People say, that over there has triggered me. That hasn't triggered you.
No.
It's internal.
Yeah.
It's the meaning that we give to the word trigger based on emotions is what triggers us. So you said to me, now get outside, I'm going to knock you out. I'd go, whatever, mate, just go away. Whereas if you said it to somebody else, they go, well, what do you fucking mean? They kick off, and because they're triggered, because one of their values may have been affected, right? Whatever their values are, good or bad. So that was a big thing for me, that emotions are the messengers of who we are. They're the messengers of identity. So
It's that. Sorry to cut you up, but it's that, isn't it? If something triggers me now, I don't look at you. I look at me. What? Why? Why me?
yeah.
What did I not like that I saw that triggers me? Because then I lean inside, and I learned that through the program.
Yeah.
But yeah, lean in, lean inwards.
Well, again, I've mentioned it before. The treasure you seek is in the cave you don't wish to enter. That's
Exactly. Magic is in the work you're avoiding.
Yeah, exactly.
I've got it tattooed on my body.
Have you, yeah. and don't get me wrong, sometimes there is a response. If somebody's affected one of your values, somebody hurt your children or whatever, they're getting hurt, aren't they? But that's a response to one of your values. When we talk triggers, I disagree with the word trigger. And maybe a response, somebody's broken one of your values is probably a better word. But so the only reason I wanted to say about emotions, because I believe if by looking at those levels of change, you can control the output, you can control the process a lot more. Just by looking, I look at it every day, the iceberg I've got at home.
Okay.
And it'll be like, right, so we're working on this today. Well, that's part of my skills.
Yeah,
I'm working on, and it's really, really powerful tool.
So then, as you say, underneath the iceberg at the very bottom, it's a bit like the hierarchy of needs, Maslow hierarchy of needs. But ultimately, the way I see it now, and I was explaining to a friend of mine who I travelled to work with, Phil, absolutely, possibly one of the reasons I'm still here as well. One of the, I keep close, help me keep my job, keep my alive. Loads of gratitude for him. But I was explaining a lot to him, and do you know where we go? Between me and my addiction getting fed, my addiction will never get fed. But between me and my addiction getting excited to think that it could offer me a deal at around 100 behaviours, for instance.
Exactly.
I don't know about all these behaviours because I've changed so many. Because I used to act like an addict, like you said, I was up the wall, I was fucking, I was running around, trying to people please everyone, running 100%, doing overtime in work, running a swimming club on the side, trying to be the best dad and the best partner. And ultimately, this is the work that I did in Break Free, and everything aligned. It all aligned. I could see it all. But I was still acting like I used to. And ultimately, so now, there's about 100, I'd say, I don't know, about 100 behaviours. My addiction needs to, it's over there. Yeah, it's way over there. But if I started acting the same again, if I start, suddenly, okay, could I go to the pub and watch Liverpool play on a Sunday? Yes, I could. Okay, just say the kids. Can we do this? Yeah, of course I've got no problem. No problem. Go anywhere in my life. I go travelling quite a bit. That I never used to be able to do though. I couldn't go to the pub and have more than 4 drinks because I didn't know what happened after. Yeah, I couldn't trust myself.
4 drinks is in alcohol.
Alcohol drinks. That's before I put alcohol down. So you're going back a couple of years. Before I recovered properly, before I did the work properly, and it would. But now I can go anywhere and do what I want. So if I started going to the pub every Sunday, that's a bit of a behaviour change, isn't it? Why are you going to the pub? What's your intention? I go one off. Yeah. Oh, suddenly I start getting involved in chaos and drama. Chaos and drama is so far out of my life. For me, chaos and drama is the first point for an addiction. Yeah. If it can get you involved in chaos or drama, suddenly you're arguing with people, you're snapping, or you're commenting or judging or stuff like that on other people. Addiction's like, yeah, because emotions attached to chaos and drama, it's the potential to shift you. Am I starting to speak to people I used to speak to, hang around places I used to hang around? Am I starting to... My addiction tries it now, still does. I go to Home Bargains or Aldi, self-service scans. It's nothing. I wouldn't say it's an addictive behaviour, but at the self-service scans, my addiction, it'll always come in and go, leave that one in your bag. It's like, it's a pathetic, minimal behaviour, but it's like, it's something I changed, because in addiction, I'd have probably left something in the bag. Do you know what? It might have been 70p, but it's just that sneaky behaviour. So between me and my addiction, all these behaviours, as you're saying, and I've changed all them. In the past, my ego would want to justify and tell the world, look, I've changed.
Do you believe you found your purpose doing what you're doing now? Or is that something that you're still working on?
Yes, so I'm finding out who I am. There's a couple of things where I see myself where I need to work on. So it's funny because I said the other day, so my addiction got fed for years and I didn't see it because I made myself a victim. So at age 11, doesn't matter about childhood, but age 11, I grew up with my grandparents. Yeah. I've got 2 older brothers. One of them went to live somewhere else. One of them is schizophrenic. He's in a mental institute in Denby, and he was a heroin addict, and he lived on the streets in Denby. And so the Gabor Mate theory about that, I did used to have a lot of shame and embarrassment. But I was already using drugs. So at age 11, I moved in with my nan side, my dad's parents. They didn't want us. My mum ran away. The police couldn't find her. They locked her down in Rill, etc. By age 12, I was using cannabis. Now, I'm not saying that's because of that, because, as we said, it could have been my environment. Loads of people have had trauma, never had an addiction. Loads of people have had, never had trauma, got an addiction. So by 12, I was using cannabis, 13, amphetamine, 14, lighter gas, and then 15 was ecstasy, and then 16 was cocaine. And then I was just a daily cannabis smoker up until age 26. But we partied. Yeah, we went clubbing. We were always clubbing, and ecstasy every weekend. And we went away to festivals and stuff. I stopped smoking cannabis. I can picture my addiction. I can picture my cocaine addiction develop. I know now where it can. I can remember actually when we told the kid's mum, and her heartbroken. She never had a clue. It'd been going on for months and months and months, daily use. And I look back now. Once I saw it develop. Now I can look back and go, it developed. But I'd been using drugs from a young age, so all my neural pathways had all been upset, hadn't they?
Reward centres.
So I was addicted to cannabis from a young age. So my addiction was alive then. My cocaine addiction. So I stopped smoking cannabis 2 weeks before my daughter turned 2. I was begged to stop cannabis for ages. The cocaine took over. Well, the cocaine was always sort of there, but it went off on another scale. And then I saw this line, and it sounds mad. I was a victim. So I developed an addiction and wrecked everything, and everyone found out. Yeah, I had a cocaine addiction. Ruined everything. Everyone found out for the first time. Justin's gone to therapy, blah, 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 blah. Straight away in the year after I opened up about addiction to some, I went back to university and I completed a degree in sports coaching to make up for this shit. And then, so the next years went on and on and on. And on the side, I ran and coached a swimming club. And you see it, this is where it all, so this was Justin, the little victim here, who I thought myself, I could just, everyone knew, oh, Justin's got an addiction because of A, B, and C. Yeah, this is what we told. My swimming club served my ego. I was a legend there. Nobody in swimming club coaching 100 people's other kids. Nobody knew about Justin's addiction.
So the swimming was almost like external validation then?
Yeah, and people would say, oh, and then all friends and family would go, oh, Justin's doing okay now. Justin's doing okay now, flying up here for 6 months sober or whatever, not using. Justin's doing okay now. Then I would go, yeah, but don't forget about this. Don't forget about this by playing the victim. So that's serving my ego. That's playing the victim. I would run 100 mile per hour doing overtime, bloody running the swimming club, trying to be the best at everything to make up for the shit I caused in addiction. And the whole time the addiction was waiting here, waiting for me to crash and burn. I would burn out, drink and use, back to victim mode, back to ego, boom. And do you know what? After about... And that's only came from doing the work and understanding on the programme.
Yeah.
That's how it all worked. And I saw this triangle line and I was like, oh my God. My passion, so you said about my purpose. My passion was coaching and helping people. Definitely. That's what I studied in uni. So I wanted to help people and I was great. I was good at it, I'm going to be honest. But my addiction ruined it. So getting onto my purpose, I've started having other thoughts now, and it's all in front of me. All my qualifications are sport. I had to leave my last job. I had to resign because my addiction got in the way of that. My addiction got in the way of the swimming. My addiction got in the way of I had to resign because just you can imagine abusing the trust of the company and. I'll say it, robbing money and putting it back, and I got caught.
Deception, deceit.
So that ended my career. So I ended up now working in another place, and enjoy it. It serves me time, but I'm on a journey to find my purpose, and my purpose is helping people. It is. It's there, and I've been putting business ideas together and all these things, and I'm a big believer in that. Nothing changes if nothing changes.
I agree.
So I've got to make the change.
I've got my identity statement there, purpose, and as my background.
Yeah.
You can't read it, but, well, you can if you sit there and look at the words, but...
Go on.
So I've got a purpose statement there. I don't read it out to anybody else.
Go on.
No.
No, you don't have to.
No.
It's for you.
Yeah. So, I read that. And all these words on there, they're all part of the work I've done around behaviours, values, skills.
It's in the behaviours. It's all in the behaviours. It lives in the behaviours.
Values, I'd say.
Yeah. Do you know what? I wouldn't wish it. I wouldn't change living in addiction for who I am now, but I wouldn't fucking wish it on anyone else.
Yeah, it's horrible. Yeah.
There's so many aspects and so many contributing factors. It's a minefield to unpick. And go on.
Well, you mentioned it before, Maslow's hierarchy, that, studied that. Bowlby's theory of attachment, studied that. All about attachment theory of us as children and how we look for validation through caregivers and all this, and mirror neurons in the brain and how we'll mirror our environment, we'll mirror the caregivers as children. And you look at it and just go, we talk trauma, right? 99% of the people I fucking know have got some form of trauma. It's how the body and the mind and we as human beings react to that trauma with the tools that we've got.
Exactly.
If you already have those tools in place, whether that be a nurturing environment, a caring family system, then you've got a real good chance at not flowing into addiction, right? But for me and for, I think every other person that I've spoke to in addiction, it's a response to a trauma. But that's not a conscious response to trauma. It's an unconscious response to trauma.
Yeah, and I suppose I probably wouldn't want to comment too far on this because this is work for me to do.
Absolutely.
All I know is that I will never, ever play the victim.
Yeah.
I'm a hero.
Okay.
However, I will not give my addiction an excuse to get fed. So if I totally take what you just saying, it might a trauma response. I probably can't. That's probably for some scientific buffs to. I
It's
think
certainly
just for
not
me,
an
I've made
excuse.
excuses for my addiction all my life. So if I feel I can listen to that and go, oh yeah, I can see where that plays in, but it's not an excuse.
Absolutely not. No chance. Like people say to me, oh, again, I've mentioned it before. People say addiction's a disease.
No,
I say it's not. I
you know
chose
it's
to
a
do
disease,
it.
don't you? You know it's a disease. So don't want to take accountability, ownership, responsibility, and fix it.
I agree.
There's no way. I am not an addict. I was an addict.
Nice.
Yeah, but-
Struggled with addiction, I say.
But ultimately, I beat my addiction. My addiction will always be there, but now I see my addiction as a bit of a third person, but also coupled within my addiction is my negative commentator, along with intrusive thoughts. Yeah,
And all that process is a recognition process. It's like you do with the AVRT, it's an understanding. And that's what I like about like I call it Voldemort. I understand it. When I'm driving past, I might fancy a pint, Voldemort, straight away. Because it's just...
it's not my thought. It's not where I want to be. If it's around alcohol, I think of it quite simple now as well. So I keep the tools quite simple. But they're part of me now. There's stages of learning. There's unconscious incompetence and unconscious competence, etc., which are studied through coaching. I could coach everybody else. Couldn't fucking coach myself.
Yeah.
And that's fine.
Same.
But now that I look at the stages of learning that, now my tools are autonomous. So as you said, have a drink. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Have a drink. And I've explained to my kids and stuff like that before. I don't like cauliflower. I just don't like it. If I go to make a Sunday lunch, does cauliflower come in my brain? No, does it? Fuck. I never think about cauliflower.
Exactly.
Does alcohol and drugs come in? I don't like alcohol and drugs. They fucking ruin my life. I hate them. Yeah. But the emotion attached to it before for my list of pain, which I was mentioning, makes me go, oh. It's just, oh. Now, why would I think about that? I don't need to think about it, do I? So why would I say, oh, have a drink? Oh, yeah, I'll have a drink and ruin my life. So it's, that's how I see it. Simple. I don't like it. I wouldn't have it.
Same.
So if a thought around alcohol and drugs comes in, that thought needs managing. It needs separating and managing.
Yeah.
But that's sound.
And then move on.
Yeah, the sound.
on.
It's there.
Yeah.
Do you know what? It makes you. It does make you laugh now.
Yeah, I agree. Listen, I've enjoyed this. I think, how far away are we, Cal? Hour and a half?
Hour and 25, yeah.
Is it? Yeah.
It flies.
No, it's good.
You know, it's
cool. The more these conversations are happening, the easier it's getting. It's flowed. I've never met you before. We sat here for an hour and a half and had a good, solid conversation, mate. What I say to everybody is this isn't a one-time thing. If you want to come on it again, and when you're more to tell, whatever you want to do, this podcast isn't necessarily for me. Well, it is for me, but it's for
Let's hope it takes off, isn't it?
I hope so, mate. I hope so. I hope it does.
But ultimately, I think it goes back, doesn't it, to say, I never thought. I just thought, don't you wish? You touched on conspiracy theories, just to finish it off.
I am a
with
conspiracy
the government. Okay. Okay, and I believe there is because it sells. Alcohol sells.
Yeah.
It's It's a slow burning addiction. We all generally, it's acceptable to have alcohol. Yeah. From a young age,
Cigarettes.
kids start having it when they are Christmas. The family will go, oh, give them a drink.
Yeah.
Give them a mocktail. Give them whatever, and it's like, wow, you are potentially creating a future addict. Now, it might take about 20 years to develop that alcohol addiction. So it's a slow burn addiction. Now, they said, don't they, if somebody went into Dragon's Den now and pitched alcohol, if it hadn't existed, would anyone invest?
No.
I tell you what will happen. So invest in this. Hospital admissions go through the roof. Yeah, domestic violence, liver disease,
Suicide.
addiction, suicide. Would you like to invest in this? No, I don't think we will.
And also, it's classed as an actual toxin as well.
We put it on our hands to kill. And so don't get me wrong, until my awareness was built up, I was in a complete mess.
Yeah.
I wish people had the awareness I do now. But I also understand that some people can moderate. That's absolutely fine. I'll never try to moderate again. And I don't want to change everyone's views, but I do wish some people had the awareness I had around this alcohol.
I think there's many different forms of self-destruction that are normalised within society. Again, the only way is up from rock bottom. You're normalising a self-destruction process there that simply shouldn't exist. We shouldn't have to get to a point where you're physically and mentally destroyed for then to somebody feel like I need help.
Yeah.
Why does?
But then there's a stigma if you do.
Exactly. And this is
That's what I try to do.
Yeah.
Break the stigma down. So
yeah.
reach out. From my hometown in Denby now, I constantly get reach outs because of social media, and it's ace. And some people have joined the programme in Liverpool because of me being loud and proud, because to break the stigma. You know, I had something with somebody not long ago, and it was like, and this person was close to me, and I won't name him, but ultimately it was about my kids, and I had created a bit of a reel, and my kids were in it, but Break Free shared it on their screen, and I had someone message me to say about your kids being on there and take them down because of bullying in school and stuff like that. And I was like, you are the prime reason I'm doing this. Your stigma. I asked my kids, all 3 kids, do you mind being on this? Seriously, do you mind? No, we're proud of you.
Nice. Your kids.
And it's like, so who's creating the stigma?
Are they totally aware of your past?
Completely aware.
How did you take it?
Good one. So ultimately, after we'd moved house, they'd never been aware whilst I was growing up. There'd been a couple of times when the kid's mum went to leave me to stay in her parents' house, and I've got a voice. I've just seen on that poster it said heroin, and my addiction was just fixated on it, so I'm just voicing that one. So they wouldn't been aware until my final relapse, and as I said, where it picked up momentum over Christmas, so 12th of December, used on the 19th of December, and then I turned into a zombie. I went missing for a couple of days, and I came back into the house. I fell to pieces in front of my kids' eyes.
Yeah.
4. I don't know why I'm laughing, but I fell to pieces in front of my kids' eyes. They watched me deteriorate in over an 11-month period. The poor souls, and my partner. I had her tied in knots, really tied in knots. And the kids just watched me fall apart. My behaviour was everywhere.
Must be powerful to know that you've built that relationship back up now, and you've got that good bond. I've seen you went on holiday with your kids.
Yeah,
see what I mean?
We have the best. So now we talk about everything, and they'll come to me about everything. We talk about this ketamine epidemic. My daughter's 16 now. She's knows people using it and gone clued. We talk about that. I know they're gonna. I'm no fucking stupid guy. You cannot. This is the power of the Break Free program. I can go and sit in Pablo Escobar's living room and not use cocaine. Somebody else said that to me on the Break Free program, but he was right. I can go sit in a pub and not drink alcohol. I never used to be able to do that. Drugs and alcohol are everywhere. You cannot avoid them. My kids are going to end up in situations where they have to make a choice. They've seen me. They know my journey. They support it. They're proud of me. They've watched their dad's rock bottom, know all the suicide attempts, etc., etc., etc. It's just the best. I've got a better relationship now with them than I was in the house, and than I will have ever had. Because do you know what they would have had? They might have grown up going, oh, I hope Dad doesn't find out about that. Rather than now, they'll be,
honesty.
I best tell my dad about that.
Values.
He'll be able to help me.
And that's what I was saying before.
I hope anyway.
Values create behaviour. As long as you value, so like now, when I was in addiction, I'll say this, when I was in addiction, I didn't value fuck all, didn't care. Now I value family, well-being, honesty, knowledge, mental health, really solid values, which give me a baseline then to create better behaviours, create better skills and education, create a better environment, not just for me, but for my children as well.
Yeah.
And that's important. I can't reiterate, values are so important when we're, especially in recovery, that we can nail them. we will inevitably become better human beings. It's inevitable. And that's what the guy who's mentoring me, the inevitability, he says, is South African. Inevitability, it's inevitable. And I believe it.
The best people, as I said it in the group yesterday, somebody who's recovered from addiction, they're the best people. They've stared at the darkest times. They've fought their way back, and then they get this awareness of the morals, values, beliefs, and suddenly they go, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is me. I can't believe this is me.
This is everything that I've always wanted to be."
Would you change being through addiction for who you are now?
No.
Good answer. Good answer.
Don't get me wrong. If somebody said you could live a life without addiction and still have everything that you are now, of course I'd say yes.
Nah, you can't have that.
No.
You can't have that. But
you know,
you wouldn't be who you are, would you?
No, and that's it. And again, I'm not.
You wouldn't be here.
This year, I mentioned it a lot. This is the hardest year I've ever had in my life, ever.
Okay.
But it's the most beautiful. I've learned more. I've experienced happiness more. Experienced love, well-being, all these things, and I fucking love it.
So the hardest year of your life, and this one, the hardest year of your life doesn't require a drink or a drug.
No. It requires me to look inside here and inside here.
But everything used to require a drink or a drug.
Yeah. It's a response, right? That's what I say. It's a response. The response is internal now, not external. One more question for you, pal.
Go on.
If you could sit 4 people around a dinner table, they can be past, present, heroes, icons, family, people who've passed away, whoever you want it to be. 4 people.
4 people?
Yeah.
Can I have 5? 3 kids and my 9 inside.
They are, job done.
That's class.
Yeah.